When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, welcome to it. Here we go into Daybreak for a Monday. Glad to have you on board. A lot to talk about today. God bless America. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, is the United States preparing for boots on the ground in Iran? More observers are pointing in that direction, but is it accurate or not? Number two, during the early days of COVID, Anthony Fauci in his diary was not focused on stopping the disease, but on growing his fame and media appearances. He was all about being famous. It's very weird. And number three, while the media spends every waking hour hunting for the next Republican civil war, the actual political meltdown is happening in plain sight. Inside the Democrat Party, there's evidence every single day. They're not just fighting over tactics or messaging. They're fighting over whether the party still believes in America at all. This isn't a handful of long-shot radicals. More than 35 DSA-backed candidates have already won Democratic primaries heading into the 2026 midterms. They're knocking off 15-term incumbents, seizing safe blue seats, and rewriting the party's bench in real time. From New York to Colorado to Michigan, the socialist wing is no longer knocking on the door. They're inside the house, rearranging the furniture, and daring the establishment to stop them. And so far, the so-called adults in the room keep clearing more space. It's not a big tent, that's a takeover. That is a takeover of the Democratic Party, and they still refuse to admit it. In Michigan, in my congressional district, Will Lawrence is generating a lot of attention this week for his comments. Lawrence is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialist of America, running to represent Michigan's 7th congressional district. In 2024, this guy looked at the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis and declared that their work are now functions as a pillar of the establishment, capitalist, imperialist American power. Let that sink in. An entitled middle-aged white guy with no real-life experience decided the giants of the civil rights movement were just useful tools for that system that he hates. That's not progressive. That's historical vandalism. And the Democrat Party is splitting over it, amid other problems. James Carville, you know, the raging Cajun, heard that kind of garbage and finally snapped again, reacting directly to the Lawrence-style radicalism infecting his party. Carville unloaded. Here he is.
And these people are paternalistic, and it's a bunch of overeducated little white turds who think they know more than other people know, and they know what's wrong. And they're going to go and then you got, they're talking about indicting Netanyahu. And that the problem is you have a candidate, a DSA candidate in New York saying we should be against interracial dating. Let me tell you something. These people, and these are to all my black friends and people like me, they think they know more than you do. They think their history is more glorious than yours. They think that Lenin was a more glorious human being than Martin Luther King or Frederick Douglass. That's what they really think. And if you know that, you don't know your history. And you should view these people with extreme skepticism, because they think they know what's better for you than you know what's better for you.
Unbelievable. At least he didn't even get out of bed for that one. There it is, the old strategist finally saying out loud what a lot of Democrats have been whispering. The radicals running around calling themselves the future of the party are condescending, overeducated ideologues who think they know better what's best for everyone else. Carville spent years enabling this crowd because he never believed they'd actually grab the wheel. Now the raccoons are in the house, and even as he's yelling to get them out. This is not a healthy party. This is a party watching its own foundation crack. Another younger Democratic strategist explained the problem a little more eloquently, confronted with the same social surge and the same dismissal of hard-won American progress. She made her position clear. Here it is.
It's incredibly insulting, I think, to black voters to believe that just because they aren't voting the way that you choose, you want them to vote, that they are low information or they don't have all the facts. I think a lot of people see exactly what's in front of them, and they're not buying it.
Yeah, they're not buying it. Exactly. She called the whole posture incredibly insulting and made plain she wasn't buying it either, and neither are a lot of black voters. When your own strategists are publicly rejecting the ideology your rising candidates are peddling, you don't have a big tent. You have a house divided against itself. But the denial continues higher up the chain. Look at Pete Aguilar, the number 3 House Democrat. When confronted with the reality of a socialist and communist adjacent takeover inside his own party, well, he laughed it off. Listen.
Last question.
So Republicans spent their press conference before you came in here calling you communists, and they're pointing to DSA wins in primary. So first of all, talk about the accusation of communism, and what is the Democratic Party's relationship with the DSA?
None of the members up here are members of the DSA. I can't speak to what that group stands for, what their focus is. We're members of the Democratic Party, and I think it's laughable when Speaker Johnson and Republican leadership devotes all of their time to talking about this. It's because they're fleecing the American people.
Laughable. Laughable. That's the official response from leadership. While DSA candidates trash MLK and Lewis, while anti-American rhetoric spreads through the Progressive Caucus, the number 3 Democrat in the House answers with a chuckle and a wave of the hand. It's not coincidence. It's willful blindness or denial. Then there's Josh Gottheimer, a mainstream Democrat who at least has the honesty to sound the alarm. He looked at the same movement and its many problems, including anti-Semitism. And at least he set it straight. Here it is.
Obviously, we'll face seismic and disappointing shift among some of my colleagues in the Democratic Party here. I think a lot of it is just politics, right? It's not based on substance. They've got a lot of people chasing after them, but I think the most important thing that happened over the last couple of days is that our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, voted against it, said absolutely not, and I think that's a very important signal. I think we've got to be very careful for the move that's going on here among socialists who are trying to hijack the Democratic Party with their anti-American rhetoric, getting influenced by foreign dollars and really trying to undermine our democracy and our freedom. And this massive disinformation that's going on and this attempt to try to poison the Democratic Party, we've got to stop it and stop the socialists. They're not Democrats, Wolf.
They're not Democrats. That's a career Democrat warning his own party that socialists are trying to hijack it with anti-American rhetoric, and they have to stop it. Gottheimer isn't some right-wing provocateur. He's a Democrat admitting the radicals are not content with influence. They want control, and the party apparatus keeps clearing space for them. It's pretty crazy, actually. More Democrat warnings coming up, but seems to me they pulled the fire alarm after the House is already well engulfed in flames. We'll keep up the conversation in a moment. Nice to see you this morning. Happy Monday. This is Daybreak. All right, so it's not just members of Congress that are denying it. Even Democrat Senator Mark Warner couldn't face the problem head on when asked about the ideological direction of his party. Warner tried to deflect by focusing on Graham Plattner as a one-off curiosity rather than a pattern and a real symptom of the disease. Here's what he said.
You think you should have a big tent? Is the idea to have a big tent? And do you believe that some of the individuals inside this party are flawed enough that you shouldn't have them in the tent, or you should denounce some of the things that they've said, whether it relates to Jews or Israel or Hamas? I mean, there's been a lot of comments recently that I think some people have big questions about.
Yeah. Listen, I think we saw in Maine the problem when when folks fall in love with a candidate without appropriate vetting. Anybody that's going to go into elective office, you got to go through your record. Now, again, people will say, well, hold it. Donald Trump has done all these things. I think we do need better vetting. I would also say this. At least we're having an ideological debate in the Republican Party. I'm sorry, in the Democratic Party.
You're having an idiotic conversation, Senator. Let me help you with that. Watch him dance. He refuses to admit that the socialist wing is no longer a fringe annoyance, but a growing faction with real primary power and a threat. That's the tell. When a senior senator cannot simply say, yes, we have a problem with candidates who reject capitalism and American power. The problem is already bigger than any single candidate. Deflection is not leadership, it's surrender by another name. Representative Seth Moulton put the party's bankruptcy in even blunter terms, based on the very real feelings of very real voters. Here's what he said.
There are a lot of people in America who feel that the Democratic Party is out of touch. We can't be honest about what's going on, with immigration. We don't have a plan for immigration. We're not able to say what actually Democrats should do to fix the problem. All we are is opposition to Trump. Under Biden, we said inflation is not really a big deal. It's transitory. It's going to go away. And then the whole party said, hey, don't worry. Everything's great. Joe is awesome. He can run for re-election. So the point is, we have this history of kind of just like washing over problems and not addressing real concerns that voters have. We got to make sure we don't do that in Arizona.
Okay, but we've got to make sure. Do you think you're doing that now? Because look no further than a state just north of you, Maine, where I kind of feel like that happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's honest. I mean, to be honest, it's a problem. It's still a problem.
Yeah, no plan on immigration, no plan on the economy, just opposition to President Trump. Ain't that the truth? Too bad the party won't do anything about it. Nothing. A party that defines itself solely by hatred of one man while platforming people who call America imperialist is not a governing party. It's a protest movement cosplaying as an alternative. And it will continue to be the way that it's going. Then there's John Fetterman. The man who survived a near-fatal stroke is now the clearest voice warning that the party is crossing a red line. Imagine that. Here he is.
Now, Jake, I've said this, that if I change my party spontaneously right now, my views and my votes aren't going to change. It's really more of a statement and if you look at the kind of people that are winning our primaries, their centerpieces of their campaign is anti-Israel kinds of rhetoric, whether it's in my state or it's whether in New York City and what's happening in Colorado now too. If you believe the Democratic Party's future is rooted in describing Israel as apartheid state or genocidal and they don't deserve to have our support, that forces me to say, is this really make sense for me as a Democrat with these views continue to actually intensify?
Nearly 60% of Pennsylvania Democrats already want him gone. They do, which tells you everything you need to know about the future of his party. It's disintegrating. When a sitting senator is openly weighing whether the party's direction still matches his values, the so-called moderate center, it's not holding. It's collapsing if it exists at all. This is not a party debating policy. That is a party in the middle of an identity crisis it cannot resolve. One side still pretends to be the party of working people and American strength. The other side openly despises the system, the very system that made American prosperity and freedom possible in the first place. And the leadership keeps trying to paper over the contradiction by calling it a big tent. It's a big tent. Your tent is on fire. Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, the America First movement is not fracturing over whether capitalism is evil or whether our allies deserve support. We're focused on borders that work, an economy that rewards work, energy that is abundant and American, and a foreign policy that puts our interests first. We don't need to apologize for the country or rewrite the legacy of its greatest moral leaders. Now, the media will keep pretending the drama is on the right. Ignore them. Ignore them. The real meltdown is happening inside the Democrat Party, right out in the open, in their own voices, on their own platforms. They made room for the DSA, accommodated them, and now they're living with the consequences, and the American people are watching and taking note. You should too. That's the monologue. If you deal with knee pain, joint stiffness, or other problems, especially when you're driving or sitting for long stretches, listen to this. You can't take a medical treatment bed with you on the road, but you can keep the QE red light therapy wand right in your glove box. This handheld device uses red and infrared light combined with proprietary quantum energy technology to target pain right where it hurts. No pills, no appointments, just simple targeted relief that you can use anytime. And I love how portable it is. Easy to use, just minutes a day. Go to ExodusStrong.com. Use the promo code Gruber and you can get the QE wand for under $100. Unbelievable. That's right. ExodusStrong.com. Promo code Gruber. Get the wand for under $100. And when you do, send me an email. Tell me what you think. All right? We'll take a break and be back. Welcome to Monday. I've got something we're going to pull for you here because the Democratic Socialist of America co-chair, what is her name? Megan Romer. Megan Romer, for whatever reason, went on Fox News over the weekend. I'm glad she did. Because she laid out the Democratic Socialist platform, and she was asked by Shannon Bream, and I'm going to have this for you here in a minute. I want you to hear it. She was asked, government ownership of most large corporations? Yes. Abolish prisons? Yes. Abolish borders? Give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally? Yes. Abolish the Senate? Yes. Replace the president and the Supreme Court? Yes. Abolish ICE? Absolutely yes. Defund the Pentagon? Absolutely. It's not a movement. And it's not something inside the Big Ten. It's an absolute disaster for the Democrats. They can't contain it. You've got radicals running under the Democrat flag getting elected. Will Lawrence, like I said, right here in my district, from what I'm hearing, is leading in the polling. And the Democrats are pumping in bunches of money, piles of money, millions of dollars, because they're in a full-blown panic. because they don't think Will Lawrence can beat Tom Barrett. Neither do I. A community organizer, a guy who's organizing against America while Tom Barrett served in the military to protect this great country of ours. Those are the kind of contrasts you're ending up with. It's real. Absolutely real. You know what else is real? My ghost bed. Love it. Absolutely love it. I tell you about it all the time, but I want you to enjoy this summer. I want you to sleep well, to get up and go for a walk, take the dogs out, run with the kids because you're well rested. Your body's recovered. The ghost bed is the best bed I've ever had. I can finally say that. It's been, 4 or 5 months now. It's just spectacular. I love it. And here's the thing. It's American-made, backed by the Werner Ladder Company. That's where it all originated. And you can try this bed for 101 nights, risk-free. If you don't like it, I don't know why you would, or wouldn't, but if you don't like it, they'll come pick it up at your house. Ghostbed.com/Gruber, promo code Gruber. Ghostbed.com/Gruber, promo code Gruber. Go check it out. You're going to love this bed. All right, it's a Monday. It feels pretty good, by the way. I'm going to tell you about some things we did over the weekend coming up, and I'll tell you about fuel prices that I found. If you don't think it's rigged, I've got a story for you. We'll come up to that. But first, I want to play this soundbite from the Democratic Socialists of America co-chair, Megan Romer. And then I'll bring on my next guest who might have a thing or two to say about it. Go ahead and roll that, Anthony.
put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
There it is. Tear down America. Everything you know about it. No prisons, no Pentagon, no borders, no future. Joining us, Ken Strang, Americans for Prosperity Managing Director. Ken, I just wanted you to get in here and weigh in on this because I've been going over this in the monologue this morning. The Democrats have a problem. 35 of these candidates have won primaries around the country. A number of them will be seated in Congress this time around. People that don't believe in Congress or the United States or borders or, even private ownership of industry. This is not a democratic socialist. This is communism. Ken, good morning. What are your thoughts?
Good morning. I mean, it's terrifying. This isn't just how do we lower grocery prices or how do we make housing more affordable. This is an absolute changing of the fabric of America and our institutions, and it's dangerous. And it's so important for every single American to stand up to this rhetoric and take our country back. I mean, we cannot stand by. And so make sure you're going out and you're voting for candidates that have common sense solutions to our biggest challenges. And those common sense solutions are the free market. That has guided our country for 250 years. Capitalism and free markets have solved the biggest challenges, and it will continue to do so. But this reshaping of America that they want, I want to know, do standard, normal, everyday Democrats believe in this? And if they do, we're going to have an interesting midterm election. But I still believe the free market capitalism solved the biggest challenges. Government does not solve our biggest challenges.
So when you look at this, this, traditionally speaking, this should be an easy year for Democrats to pick up a number of seats in the House, maybe take over control of the Senate. But this is a terrible handicap. I mean, in a year when, look, Donald Trump's approval numbers run in the low 40s, should be an easy year for Democrats to win across the board. But this stops it because real Americans, real Democrats, and yes, there are millions still out there, are going, what am I looking at? They don't support this, right?
Absolutely right. Look, at Americans for Prosperity, we talk to Americans every single day at their doorstep, on the telephone. We crisscross this great country talking to Americans about what do they want to see in this country. And I can tell you, not a single one has come up to us and say, hey, you know what? You know what we ought to do to fix America? We ought to eliminate the Senate, the presidency, and jails. It's just rhetoric that is completely out of touch with Americans. What they want, Steve, is they want the government to get out of the way. They want to get the barriers removed. They want to cut red tape. They want to live their American dream. And what do we see with socialism? What do we see with communism? We typically see pain and human suffering. We don't see the kind of innovation that we see with free markets and capitalism. We don't see life-saving medicines. We don't see innovations like the internet and things that have pushed humanity forward, that have lifted people out of poverty. We see pain, we see suffering, and that's not what America is built on. And again, it's so incumbent on how do we solve these challenges? We take real problems and real solutions to everyday Americans, and they don't want the government to solve every little itty bitty problem. They want their communities to solve them. And we have a lot of ways that we can do that. We need to get rid of the red tape. We need to get rid of the bureaucracy, and we need to get our country moving again through free market principles.
So speaking of that, the working families tax cut, the one big beautiful bill, Democrats, not one voted for it that I'm aware of, but if it hadn't gone through, it would have been the largest tax increase for middle-class families that I've ever seen across the board, right? So you've got policies that are trying to help when you talk about affordability and making sure that families have a shot. Look, the jobless numbers are down. Inflation's still 3.5% higher than we would like, but not off the charts like it was during Joe Biden's time in office. I mean, things are on the mend, I suppose, from where I sit. Despite the war in Iran, which has driven up gas prices and oil prices, everything else seems to be coming into place. More building of things in America, more factories opening, investments from countries all over the world. Toyota building a $3.5 billion plant in America. I mean, the list goes on, right?
That's right. Once again, you see this rhetoric that we want to lower prices, yet every single Democrat voted for the biggest tax hike in American history. If the working families tax cut wasn't passed, the average American family of four would see a $1,500 tax hike. Instead, they're seeing $2,300 in tax relief. To your point, we're seeing important provisions for small businesses and business owners to be able to reinvest in their company. The big one that we're talking to Americans about is being able to depreciate 100% of their machinery. That's leading to small businesses buying qualified machinery, being able to invest in their business, and being able to grow. We spoke to Vicky in North Carolina. She bought machinery and she expanded to a second location. So she gets to hire more employees. She gets to reinvest in her community. She gets to grow. She gets to expand. She gets to thrive. And that's just not Vicky. That's folks all over America on Main Street businesses that we see every single day at our grocery store. And that's how America thrives. That's how America grows. And so we're seeing that in the working families tax cut. And this is exactly why tax cuts work. It doesn't put money back in the pockets of Uncle Sam. It puts it back in the pockets of everyday Americans.
Yeah, which is where it belongs. Not with some government taking over their company. You know, and for union workers, I live in a fairly unionized state, Michigan. Do you think the union workers are willing to give up all the things they fought for, great health care, great vision, great dental, so that the government can run things? Last word to you.
Well, that's exactly right. And again, let's just don't look at all the great tax provisions. In addition to that, you talked about energy, expanded offshore drilling. It doubled the standard deduction for Americans. It provided important resources for our southern border, which is an absolute disaster when Joe Biden ended his presidency. The working families tax cut helps real Americans. And if we want to solve the affordability crisis and we want to look at who actually lowers prices ahead of midterms, it is certainly not democratic socialism, and it is not big government.
Yeah. Cat's always a good conversation. Look, I don't know what's going on with the Democrats or how they allowed that to get inside their tent, but the tent is on fire. As a result, maybe working families end up winning in the end. We'll find out, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Ken Strang, Americans for Prosperity, Managing Director. When I come back, building in America, making things in America. We're doing it more now. My next guest has been doing it for a very, very long time. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. As you know, I was in D.C. for a few days here just recently, and it was 100 degrees every day. Good Lord, it was hot and humid and brutal. And the one thing that I really missed was my ghost bed. I told you guys that because I have gotten, well, I've fallen in love with my ghost bed. I mean, I both have. It's the best thing that we've had happen in the last, well, probably in 2026, honestly. It's just so wonderful. My Oura Ring keeps track of my sleeping. I've been getting crowns almost every night except when I was in D.C. and I didn't have my bed and it was hot. And look, if you want to get past that, you want to kick off the covers, turn on the fan, lowering the thermostat, all that stuff because you're waking up because it's hot and you don't have the right bed. Well, my next guest has some solutions. Mark Werner is here from Ghost Bed. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on today.
Look, when it's 100 degrees in Washington, it's hot, and sleeping in hot weather is the worst, but you've got some of the best cooling technology. It's patented stuff for summer sleep and people that sleep hot, like me already. I mean, that's a good first step. And when I was without the ghost bed, it was kind of a tough week, but now I'm back and I'm getting refreshed again. But you do have some great cooling technology, don't you?
We have great cooling technology. We have patented technology in pillows and sheets, in the mattresses. We use technology in the fabric, so when you touch it, it's cool to the touch, so that immediately makes you a little cooler. And then we have a layer of phase change that goes over the foam, and we aerate the foam so the air can swish through it and kind of really generate some cool air on your person, take your body temperature down a couple of degrees, help you fall asleep and stay asleep. And being cool is really important to having quality REM sleep. So that's something we've always focused, and selfishly, I've always slept hot. So I've always developed products that focus on cooling.
And in fact, you say summer is a good time to reveal if your mattress is, well, frankly, inferior, right? I mean, that's when you realize you got a problem.
Right. It takes, the blankets are off. You kind of hide, you can't hide any of the lack of cooling technology in your mattress during the summer because the room's heated up and you need to deal with it.
Yeah, and guys, if you're listening, this is what the numbers say. 60% of Americans, more than half of us, report sleeping too hot. Too hot. I mean, and Ghost Bed is going to solve this for you. I mean, that's the solution, Mark, getting technology that makes sure you can sleep well and sound, right?
That's exactly right. And the number is probably more than 60%. I think that number might be even on the low side.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can sleep hot in the winter. You know, the summer really exacerbates it, but in the winter, you're in your room, the heat's on, your blankets are on, and your body's 98 degrees, and it's just laying there generating heat on all the sleep area.
Yeah, a couple other things I want to mention here about Ghost Bed. And first of all, Mark, you come from the Werner Ladder Company. You guys have been inventing. Your family is a family of inventors, of creators. The Werner Ladders, you were involved in scales for people for a number of years in your life, and then you came to create, I think 26 years ago, the Ghost Bed Company, and you've been going great guns ever since. But people that go out and buy these fancy RVs, I talk about this because it's summertime, they go out and spend, six figures on an RV, and they get a 50-cent mattress. You've got a solution for that.
We do. We saw that void in the market, and you're right. These RVs are expensive. They're $50,000 to $1 million even, and they get a 50-cent mattress. So we came out with our couple Ghost Bed mattresses. It's a different size in the RV, so it's called a short king or short queen. And we have a foam and a hybrid, different thicknesses, and they've been just a huge success. The ratings on these mattresses are just off the charts. And I'm even going to call the ratings like on Amazon, which is a tough crowd, like a 4.7 on Amazon. You've got a really good product.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of that product. Those customers tend to be then lifers with Ghost Bed and get for their home and their kids' home, et cetera. So that's a very good market. It's a niche market, but we focus on it. And that market, interesting enough, is March to October. Yeah. After that season, it just fades off.
And I was telling you, just before we came on today, I got a random call out of the blue from a guy that I've got to know a little bit. He has a fishing lodge in Alaska and a hunting lodge in Utah, and he bought the Ghost Bed because he saw it here on this program. He said, I'm going to buy one. He's in love with it so much, he says, I'm going to outfit my lodges with Ghost Bed. Matt, here's a shout out to you, my friend, because I appreciate you supporting Ghost Bed and what we do here, because really we're partners in all of this, Mark. One more thing I want to get to, though, anti-snoring technology. Anti-snoring technology. You've got that coming out just now, right?
Just now. So I've spent the last 10 years trying to develop an adjustable base, a smart adjustable base that would deal with snoring, because 60, 70, 80% of the world snores, and it's a problem. Sometimes people sleep in separate rooms. You get the elbow, you get the pillow, etc., thrown at you, man or woman, doesn't make a difference. So with this new adjustable base, smart adjustable base, it went live this week. We've got 3 patents and 5 more reissued and 5 more in the patent office that should issue this year. Here's the snoring. It will start to lift up the base in the back, the adjustable base, and all of a sudden it will start to open up your passageway and allow you to breathe better and stop snoring, and then everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Everyone's happy. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not sleeping in the other room. You're not getting swatted with a pillow at midnight. Right. Because nobody wants that, Mark. Nobody wants it. Got a very special offer today for the folks. I'm told if you buy a new Ghost Bed mattress, you're going to throw in sheets and a pillow. That's remarkable.
That's right. So you're going to get 10% off with the Gruber code, and against our very everyday low prices. And then for your audience, you're going to get any of our high quality sheets, the Ghost sheets, and any of our pillows. So once you buy the mattress, you have to buy a mattress. Customer service people will call you up and say, hey, what color sheets do you want? So it can be very customized and specific for you. And which pillow do you want? You want the foam pillow, the shredded pillow? You know, what works for you? We're making it just very customer friendly, and we'll handle the whole thing.
What a great offer. And by the way, folks, don't forget you get 101 nights to try it if you actually don't like it, which I'd be shocked. But if you don't, Mark will stand behind the product. They'll come pick it up at your house. No risk here. Mark Warner, greatly appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Go to ghostbed.com/Gruber, promo code Gruber. Get 10% off, free sheets, free pillow, and 101 nights to try it for free. Ghostbed.com/Gruber, promo code Gruber. You're going to love this bed, just like Matt did. Trust me on this. I'll be right back. All right, we've been discussing the change in the Democrat Party. Radical changes, dangerous changes. And so the question is America entering a turning point that most people haven't noticed? This morning at 9 o'clock on Forgotten America, Susan Kokinda, the executive director of Promethean Action, joins me to discuss the economic, political, and global forces she says are reshaping America's future. From rebuilding American manufacturing and infrastructure to the growing influence of international finance and shifting alliances around the world, she argues that the biggest story isn't what's making headlines, it's what's happening beneath the surface. Are we witnessing the return of an America First industrial strategy? And what do today's global conflicts mean for the country's future? Fascinating conversation connecting history, economics, and geopolitics in a way only Susan Kokinda can do. Here's a preview.
In these kinds of fights where you don't control the territory, and we do not control the election territory in Michigan, for example, certainly not in Wayne County.
Right.
When you don't control the territory, then what you've got to do is you've got to fight for the margins. You know, you've got to attrite the enemy's ability to carry out their strategy. And I think that's a big part of what this administration is doing right now.
Yeah, it seems to me that this administration is quietly laying the foundation for long-term transformation through funding challenges and through saying, hey, through repercussions, real repercussions in your actions. And I think that's going to be great if they can continue to make some good changes there.
You'll have that full conversation coming up 9 o'clock this morning. Forgotten America. Ivy and I talked to Susan Kokinda. Always fascinating. The QR code's right on your screen. You can get connected right now. Drops at 9 o'clock this morning. You can become a subscriber for free. I suggest you do. I think we've got 24 episodes up there for you now. All sorts of conversations about all sorts of topics you don't hear in the headlines. And Susan Kokinda has a way to go through it like a professor. Like a professor. If you don't follow her, you should on Promethean Action on X and other social media platforms. All right, we'll take a break. We've got another big hour of Daybreak straight ahead. I'll be right back.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, let's get right into it, shall we? Fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom. Glad you're along for the ride. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, oil prices. Dipping again over the weekend, down 6%. Not spiraling out of control, but with the ongoing conflict in Iran, it's always a possibility, I suppose. Number two, voter fraud will be among the topics I expect to hear when President Trump travels to Michigan a bit later today. I'll be on hand. I'll bring you a front row seat to what he has to say. I'll have a complete report for you. And number three, the battle for the midterms is heating up as the showdown gets closer. Common sense would indicate a runaway win for the Democrats, but then you have to consider the wild swing into socialism for the blue team. Add in redistricting wins for the Republicans, and it becomes a lot less clear as to who's going to win. I win because Ivy's here. So do you, Ivy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, there you are. Nice to see you this morning. How are you?
I'm excellent, and I'm lucky because you're here.
Well, thank you. I look at these races, and honestly, President Trump's approval ratings are in the low 40s on average. Some a little higher, some a little lower. But this is the perfect environment for Democrats to run away with big wins. But then you look at terrible candidates, places like Maine, the replacement for Graham Plattner, no better than Graham Plattner. Apparently more skeletons coming out there. You got James Tallarico in Texas, who you've seen.
Yeah, ridiculous guy.
Yeah, and then here in Michigan, you've got Abdul El Sayed, and people are like, well, why is he doing so well? Well, because the other person in the race is Haley Stevens. Do you mind seeing some Haley Stevens?
Let's show the audience.
Listen
Bring
to
it
this.
Okay, some of you have seen, there's those cool kids on the internet. They're doing the cool kid chatter. Some of them might be the coastal elites, making fun of how I talk. Not okay, says my governor. But let's be real. They're making fun of Michigan. They're thinking they're better than us. And what they don't know is I am your voice. And their jokes and their criticism only makes me fight harder.
Boy, that's just out of a... Did you read that from a Kamala Harris?
Let's get in line and vote for that. Good
There's
Lord.
nothing substantive there.
No, there never is. They make fun of my voice. No, we make fun of your lack of ideas.
That's right. We sure do.
I mean, it's so embarrassing. All right, so I want to play you one more soundbite, if I may, because Mamdani has, as you know, he's basically become the face of the Democrat Party, right? He's the guy. Well, people that live in New York, they've had a lot. They've dealt with it. Sid Rosenberg has been, the number one guy on morning radio in New York for a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's buying it, Ivy. Based on this, listen.
People are very nice people, but trying to talk to Mayor Mamdani is like trying to talk to the IRGC, okay? This guy is a terrorist. That's the bottom line. I'll say it. You don't want to say it, I'll say it. He's a terrorist. He's a jihadist. He hates the Jewish people. He hates America. He hates the Italian people. He hates the Irish people. He hates the German people. Unless you're Muslim, Mayor Mamdani has no use for you. He is a horrible person and maybe has perpetrated the worst American and Jewish hate in the history of this country. Those two people stabbed the other day in the airport side of New York City, that blood is on his hands. That blood is on your hands, Mayor Mamdani. We got to find a way to get this guy out of here. Maybe Dr. Naomi Wolf is right. Maybe that election wasn't what it looked like on paper. Maybe he really didn't win. But either way, this guy is the worst thing to happen to New York politics, maybe in the history of our state. He's a lowlife.
He's a lowlife. Anyhow, so this is what I've been talking about all morning, Ivy. The divide. Are there problems on the Republican side? Clearly. We got John Thune stuck in neutral. We have nothing happening in the Senate.
No sense of urgency.
No sense of urgency. None.
It's like, midterms are coming up. Let's go. Let's get moving. Let's get some stuff passed, just in case.
And nothing. Yeah. So, but you would think the Democrats would have a clean lane, except they've got people like Mamdani out there and Haley Stevens and James Tallarico and Abdul El Sayed, and the list goes
Is
on.
it Saeed? Syed? I don't know.
I thought it was Saeed. Is it Syed? I don't know.
Saeed? I don't know. Anyways, continue.
He hasn't come on the program yet. He's welcome to be here. By the way, we should make sure that invitation is extended again
Oh, yeah.
to Abdul.
We invite all voices here, and we used to have a lot more Democrats on the show. And then when you just ask them...
Real questions?
We do tend to be very respectful, like Tucker
Always.
Carlson used to do on Fox News. He always used to have a lot of Democrats on his show.
Sure.
And we do the same. And then all of a sudden, when you just start asking very simple questions that should be easy to answer, like what are your views and what are your plans for the state of Michigan or the United States?
Great point.
They couldn't answer anything, and they just go round and round, and
Right.
you hold them accountable for actually getting an answer, and then
Nothing. But, you make a great point because the DSA, the so-called Democratic Socialists, which was just a name for communists, they're appearing everywhere. They're on Fox News. I just played the bite earlier. They want to eliminate the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court,
can
the
you
Pentagon.
believe that? It is. I'm glad they're actually coming out and saying it.
I am too.
And like, here, this is actually what we represent. And then all of us conservatives are like, this is what we've been telling you, that this is what they represent. Thank you for actually telling the truth about your views. But continue. Yeah, I agree.
You're exactly right. I mean, here they are telling the truth. And these are the people that the Democrats want in their big tent.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a big tent. This is a takeover.
Yeah, did you see Bernie Sanders over the weekend? He was being interviewed on Meet the Press. And
No, thank God I missed it.
So he actually was asked, well, you backed Plantner, and this new guy, are you sure that he's completely vetted? And have you actually vetted all the candidates that you're supporting? And there's a long pause. And he's like, well, there's 100 and something candidates. I don't know about the degree of complete vetting, blah, blah, blah. And he continues to make excuses. And it's just like, dude.
They don't care.
What are you doing? You might want to actually look into your candidates before you start
What's
backing them.
The new guy is Troy Jackson, I think, and
Yeah, Troy Jackson.
I think he's got a bunch of baggage too, from what I understand. And look, he's the guy that also supported Plattner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Plattner, blah blah. Even after the tattoo, the initial reports of sexual abuse or whatever with girlfriends and so forth, Troy Jackson was right there supporting him, right until he saw an opportunity for him to get the job. And he's a guy that ran for governor and came in like third place. But this is your answer. Whatever.
Okay, well, it'd be good for.
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins, the Republican candidate there.
Yeah.
So really quickly, I want to share a couple stories with you. One, a Florida mail carrier was accused of stealing 80 cats along her mail route, and she collected them in her house.
She collected cats.
80 cats were rescued from her home of Gail Gustino. She's 77 years old.
Catnapper.
And when the cops went in to rescue these cats, and there were some dogs as well, there was more than a foot of feces in some areas in the home. And I'm like, what?
Look,
how
dude,
do you live there? First, there was no ventilation. It's like it's Florida, so it's 100 degrees.
Back in the day, I was in a couple houses like this when I was working for NBC in Ohio.
Uh-huh.
We ended up in a couple of cat houses like that, and where it was a foot thick. It's just ammonia. All you can smell is ammonia. Your eyes water. Is horrendous. It's terrible for the animals, terrible for the people. Anyhow, I got to leave it there, Ivy. It's just sad. Why is she stealing cats on the route? Anyhow, love you.
Love you too.
All right, back after this.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to talk about pesticides and the food you eat because it's all part of the Make America Healthy Again movement. But my next guest has a series of complaints about the Trump administration, pesticides, and how these big companies have lobbyists and people in key positions at places like the EPA. Stacey Malkin is the co-founder and managing editor of U.S. Right to Know. It's a nonprofit newsroom and public health research group. That's how they call themselves. Stacey, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve. How are you today?
I am well. You have some complaints, a series of them, serious complaints, about how the chemical industries have infiltrated government, and not just during the Trump administration, for decades, honestly, and pushed policies that promote their products, people like Bayer that we know, Monsanto and others. And you're concerned that the Trump administration has given too many victories to the pesticide industry over the last 18 months. Tell us your concerns.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I work for a news group, U.S. Right to Know, and we research pesticide industry influence. And as you've said, it's a decades-long problem, a bipartisan problem. The industry has huge influence in Washington, D.C. We started to look into the Trump administration because of the very many favors that Trump administration has been giving to the pesticide industry. So approvals of new pesticides containing PFAS, an executive order declaring glyphosate a national priority, and most significantly, supporting Bayer at the Supreme Court in their effort to take away our rights to sue in states for failure to warn about cancer. And so the Supreme Court did side with Bayer. The Trump administration sided with Bayer, and now we have a huge setback to consumer rights for an important avenue of accountability, which is suing companies if they fail to warn us about cancer, as Bayer did with its flagship product, glyphosate.
Well, the United States Supreme Court has delivered decisions that have irritated both left and right. So the problem, I don't think, is with the Supreme Court. But let's talk about some of the concerns about PFAS, for example. This is one area that I do have a complaint with the administration over PFAS because monitoring has become less. PFAS are what you know as forever chemicals, right?
Yes, forever chemicals, companies knew for decades they were extremely persistent, extremely toxic. And 5 new pesticides containing PFAS ingredients have been approved in the last, just recently, since November. So that's a huge concern.
So when you say PFAS ingredients, are you saying PFAS straight up? PFOAs, PFAS straight up, they're using these in pesticides?
PFAS chemicals, yes. And there's a disagreement about what constitutes a PFAS. Is it 1 fluorinated chemical or 2? So we've now changed the definition in contrast to this global scientific community saying that 1 PFAS doesn't count as PFAS chemicals. So we're arguing about definitions and not extreme toxicity that we're going to be more exposed to now that there are more pesticides containing these forever chemicals.
Well, again, my question, hold on, Stacey. My question is this. In what concentration? We obviously know from, what the New York Times did in the articles out of West Virginia and so forth, dating back to about 1999, what PFAS can do in large quantities. But what is the concentration here?
Do we know? Are they studying it?
I don't know. I'm asking you. You should know.
Yeah, well, PFAS is something I don't want in pesticides or in my food in any amount. One of the things with pesticides is we're looking at them one by one. We're exposed to multiple pesticides at a time. So I think I'm for the precautionary principle. Let's not expose people to known chemicals that are known to be extremely persistent, extremely toxic in any amount, because it's all adding up. And it's getting into our food, it's getting into our children. And I want a government that can assure safety. And I want companies that follow the science instead of lying to us for decades. I think we have a serious...
And that's fair. You've made your point there, and I'll let people decide for themselves. And I think you're going to have a lot of people that agree with you. It depends on the level of concentration would be my question, but again, we'll let the people decide. The Endangered Species Act, you say it's been weakened. In my experience, the Endangered Species Act has been abused by people on the left to block all sorts of things my entire life. But what has been done to the Endangered Species Act that you're concerned with?
Well, this is concerning atrazine, and this is, again, a toxic herbicide. It's banned in many countries. It's the second most widely used herbicide in the United States. The EPA had said it was dangerous to thousands of endangered species, and that was just overturned by the Fish and Wildlife Service, saying it's not a problem for
Which endangered species?
Many endangered species.
That's not an answer. And I ask it because this is important. Because the left has used the courts and claimed that this endangered species or that endangered species would prevent the creation of a bridge, a road, a building, whatever. It's been abused in courts my entire life. I mean, the wolf has fully recovered in Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and yet you can't touch one because they're still protected under the Endangered Species Act. I see open abuse of that act by activists. That's why I'm concerned. But when you say thousands of endangered species, you got to tell me one.
Yes, well, wildlife, fish, birds. Here's my thing about atrazine, Steve. I'm not an expert on the Endangered Species Act. Atrazine is a known hormone disruptor. The studies literally find testes with eggs inside of them. It's known to cause, so frogs is an example of a species that's extremely sensitive to atrazine. And again, it's banned in many other countries.
Which animal?
Frogs. Frogs are have
fair enough. And I'm not discounting you. I'm not. I think that these are legitimate questions, and it's incredibly important. But I need to know more specifics. Anyhow, I got to leave it there for today. But you can come back anytime because I think it is something that people are concerned with, and the Endangered Species Act it worked, but then after it worked, the activists refused to allow management to begin again in some place. Anyhow, that's a conversation we'll continue, Stacey. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good day.
You too. Greatly appreciate it. So tell me what you think. I mean, I don't discount her concerns over the chemicals. A lot of them have proven to be very harmful. But there's a balance in there as well, I believe. I'll be back. All right, me and my son took a quick fishing trip over the weekend to Michigan's Upper Peninsula. We were in the UP in Nama, by the way. Shout out to Charlie and the Nama Inn there it's right there near Gladstone and Escanaba, close enough. Anyhow, Little Beta Knock, Big Beta Knock, great fishing. It's legendary. Anyhow, had a great time. But so I'm driving through the UP. I drive a pickup truck with one of those Chevrolets with a little 3-liter diesel in it. I love the thing. It gets 25 miles to the gallon, full-size pickup truck. And I didn't need fuel at the time, but I glance up and I see diesel fuel at $4.99. I'm like, that's pretty good. I'm thinking that's not too bad, right? Because at $4.99 and 25 miles to the gallon, I do better than my friends who have gas pickup trucks, by far, in fact. And so then come back over the Mackinac Bridge into southern Michigan, into the Lower Peninsula, and I see diesel fuel at different prices. So I get up to drive back yesterday. I see a price of $5.99, $1 more. And I'm like, I'm not paying that. I go literally 5 minutes down the road for $5.29. They're both BP stations. It's the same fuel, the same company, and 70 cents different per gallon. And you're telling me it's not rigged? Come on now. We would be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on a principle of sound, stable money. It was embodied by the gold standard. Of course, that went away in 1971. And since that time, the dollar's value has eroded. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold? Something that can be shaken, disrupted, or devalued? Birch Gold has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for 15 years. They'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn how gold fits into your portfolio by texting my name or America to the number 989898. You'll receive a free, no-obligation information kit, an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. Let Birch Gold help build your foundation. Text America to the number 989898. Text America to 989898. There you go. You might need some gold to buy fuel in certain places. And there, just what you guys are waiting for. There you go. Say hi to everybody. Good boy. It's daybreak. What else do you expect? All right. Believe it or not, Election Day is 100 days out. Donald Trump is going to be in Michigan today, in Milford. I'll be over there with the president today. We'll see what he has to say. But I'm going to guess we're going to talk about the economy, Iran, election integrity, because obviously of what happened in Muskegon, Michigan, that he talked about during his primetime address here not long ago, and the concerns about mail-in ballots and fraud in the elections. And notice where he's going. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. The strategy seems to be the same. Focus on the key swing states because they're key swing states when it comes to Congress and the U.S. Senate as well. Joining me now, Hunter Lavelle, RNC Midwest Regional Communications Director. Hunter, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for having me today.
All right. So, to me, the Save America Act is important, but it's too late for that now. There is some good news. Several states, including my own, are voting on election integrity measures. ID, citizenship. California's voting on it, and others. So that's all fine and well, but I think the United States Senate has dragged its feet for so long now that it's too late. Am I wrong?
I don't think so. It's really important that we secure American elections. Non-citizens should not be voting at all. In fact, you just saw a few weeks ago in New Jersey about it was discovered that 6,000 non-citizens were on the voter rolls in the past couple of years. We cannot allow it to happen. It is imperative we pass the Save America Act. Obviously, we're doing what we can, imploring Senate Majority Leader Thune to get this measure through.
There's no urgency. That's the problem, Hunter. We talk about it here every day. There's no urgency from Thune or anybody. La, 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 la. And then they're going to take a vacation for a month, starting about now. I mean, frankly, if I may be so bold, it pisses people off, me included.
Right. I hear you there. The American people want to see our elections secure. We are working hand in glove with the president to make sure that the Save America Act gets through Congress.
Yeah, that's just one thing. There's a lot of other work to be done. The president's not getting the appointments he needs. Other things are just sitting there and hanging around. Look, John Thune has proven to be completely ineffective. And I see that the president on Truth Social posts is becoming ever more agitated, for lack of a better word, because he has urgency. He works 18 hours a day. He knows what it takes to get things done. And we don't see that out of Congress. Now, look, the Democrats have given us a whole host of, wacko candidates, communist candidates, which will help even the playing field in November, I believe. But we need to get on the ball here if there's going to be any success for the midterms, because, look, the election day is 100 days. Early voting starts in September all over the country. I mean, we're well within the window now, are we not?
Oh, we are. And I mean, you're seeing it right here in Michigan, where you have radical socialist Abdul El-Sayed, locked in a head-on collision primary with Haley Stevens. And obviously we're, 10 days out from that primary. But Abdul is a terrorist apologist. He has said time and again that he struggles with Israel's right to exist, that, he doubled down on campaigning with Hassan Piker. He excused the Temple Israel attacker. He crashed out over the assassination of Iran's supreme leader. We can't allow or elect someone like that to represent Michigan in the U.S. Senate. And that's why I think electing Mike Rogers is critical, where, he's a battle-tested, proven conservative leader. He's knows what it takes. He served Michigan in the House for 14 years. He was the House Intelligence Committee chairman, and he's barnstorming the state right now. He's meeting with Michiganders on the ground where they're at. He's visiting manufacturing facilities, small businesses, talking about the benefits of the working families tax cuts and how the no tax on overtime, it's benefiting 3 million Michigan workers. And we want to elect more conservative leaders like him to get Michigan working again.
And here's the thing that I find interesting. I've got numbers from a friend of mine, inside numbers. And if you look at the numbers put out on polling on Real Clear Politics or wherever, it'll show Haley Stevens winning by 3 or 4 points over Abdul El-Sayed. But when you change the question to how motivated you are to vote, Abdul El-Sayed jumps over Haley Stevens because the motivation, they have the base. The DSA, whoever wants communism in America, they're really motivated to vote out their rights, get rid of the Supreme Court, get rid of the president, get rid of the United States Senate, open borders, amnesty for everybody. So that has got to be a problem for the Democrats. I mean, this is full-blown panic for these folks. And then they bring in Troy Jackson in Maine, who's no better than Graham Plattner, apparently, except for maybe the lack of a rape accusation. But you've got bad candidates. And thank hopefully the Democrats have done what Republicans have done in the past, gotten really bad candidates on the ballot. Good for them because it helps out the Republicans, doesn't it?
Right, it does. In fact, Michiganders are tired, sick and tired of 32 years of failed one-party leadership. I mean, if you have one poll that has Abdul up or Haley, it doesn't really matter because either one would just be a disaster for Michigan. I mean, Haley Stevens is a wolf, and she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's, on the record supporting.
But at least she sounds like Mickey Mouse. But go on.
Yeah. Right. But, she's trying to, shroud herself in this fake Obama endorsement that is from 2018. She's airing ads that has her saying that Obama supports her. Yet she was on the auto rescue, all this stuff. She supported EV mandates. She voted for the largest tax increase in American history when she voted against President Trump's signature tax cuts last year. Both would be a disaster. And that's why it is critical. Mike Rogers, he has the biggest war chest. He is getting out across the state, meeting with everyday folks. And I think people are really firing up and excited. They don't want these DSA candidates. You have Bernie Sanders, AOC, parachuting into Michigan for a weekend to go campaign.
I know. I went to the event. Oh, I was there.
Yeah.
I went to one of those events. It was very exciting. Actually, I was actually surprised, to be honest, Hunter, at how small it was. It was 1,200 people. Of course, they put it in a small room, make it look packed, but it was only 1,200 people. I asked the security guide how many people were allowed. They said 1,200. And right next door, that was in Lansing here a couple weekends ago. Right next door, there's a little league, or not little league, but a minor league baseball game going on with twice as many people. That's what the draw is. I mean, honestly, the fact of the matter is, Hunter, average, normal, mainstream, old school Democrats aren't buying this either. And Mike Rogers, I see him everywhere. He's on national news. He's on local news. He's on this program. He's out hustling right now. He is working the deal. And right now, if you put him up against Syed, he wins. Haley Stevens, it's a toss-up, according to the polling.
The establishment's terrified. You have Governor Whitmer, coming in for the 11th hour endorsement. Gary Peters has already endorsed her. I'm sure. I mean, it's the vague slotkin pictures that they'll post together. I mean, the Chuck Schumer Democrat wing is terrified.
It's not just them. It's not just Haley Stevens. You got Will Lawrence, who apparently is leading the polling for the 7th congressional district, the district I live in, right?
Right.
They're in full-blown panic. The Democrats are coming in dumping money into that race because they don't want him to win. The Republicans are putting in money because they do want him to win the primary. It's fun and games. It's silly season. It's politics. Last word to you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have, like you said, Abdul said, William Lawrence, Haley Stevens. I think all three of them would just be terrible for Michigan. It is critical. Obviously, Congressman Tom Barrett doing just great work with the working families tax cuts, veterans benefits. He's doing really good things for Lansing. And I think that Mike Rogers, obviously, he's the proven battle-tested conservative leader that we need to represent Michigan.
Hunter, greatly appreciate it. We'll talk again. The election, like you said, 100 days away, but early voting starts before then. Hunter, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And by the way, as a side note, if you haven't noticed, over in Wisconsin, the Democratic Socialist, Hong is her name, leading the pack in a Marquette University poll. Marquette University from Wisconsin. She's leading the poll by double digits. They're panicked in Wisconsin, too. Oh, good Lord. Good luck with that. I'll be right back. All right, let's just jump right back into it. Can you believe it that early voting is, starting in September? I mean, what are we, 50 days away, 60 days away from early voting in some places? I think in Michigan you get 9 days, here where I am. But it's different all over the country. See, that's the problem. Some standards and guidelines would be nice, like voting day, election day. That would be nice. Paper ballots would be nice. I mean, the thing that Kamala Harris endorsed and fought for in 2019, that would be a pretty good idea. Get rid of the machines, get rid of the mail-in ballots, get rid of the opportunity for fraud. Just get rid of that opportunity for fraud. The idea, just get rid of it. Anyhow, we're just talking about Mike Rogers. He is on the hunt for a Senate seat in Michigan. He appeared over the weekend on all the big programs. He's making his rounds. Here he is.
The Cook report still has this listed as a toss-up. We think that's closer to the truth. They've had these 2 Senate seats for 32 years. They've been in charge of Lansing, Michigan, our state government, for 10 years. And every metric has gone down. Education, we're now 44th. We've lost 30,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 8 years. We have the highest utility rates in the Midwest, about 20% higher than the national average. So you just go down every metric that you determine how a state's doing, median wage down. I think people are ready for a change, and we've got solutions to these problems, and that's why we're seeing in our polling our numbers are up, and people are ready to change direction. It's, the national race is about, the president who won. In Michigan, we didn't have that success. We still have the two of the same party talking the same way and voting the same way, and I think people are ready for a change in Michigan. That's why we've done as well as we have.
Yeah. Still about fraud, though. There's the problem when it comes to can you trust the elections? Now, there are these ballot issues all over the country, including Michigan, where you'll have to have voter ID. We already have voter ID in Michigan. But we also know what went on at the TCF Center in Detroit. We know what happened in Muskegon, where the clerk said, wait a second, normally we get about 250 new voter registrations and applications, and they had almost 10,000. All being manufactured, pay-to-play stuff that was never actually fully investigated by the FBI until now. Now it's being investigated. We'll see if it goes anywhere. What concerns me is ever since Donald Trump's speech, I haven't heard of one firing. I haven't heard of one arrest. I haven't heard of one person being held accountable for all the things that he laid out with the Chinese coming in. And I don't think we should have 700,000 Chinese students here. If China is actively hacking our voter rolls about you and me and everybody else, why do we give them a blank check to come here with 700,000 students to infiltrate our country? Why do we allow birth tourism to continue? Why do we allow China to continue to drive the boat like that? These are serious questions, things that concern me and should concern you. Speaking of voter fraud, here's a left-of-center commentator, Mark Halperin, talking about voter fraud and how concerning it is. Listen.
Politics. You don't even live there.
I think of it as the West collectively.
Do you see why this makes people think?
Bite 2.
I might have the wrong bite here, Steve. Sorry.
Oh. Well, then let's go to voter fraud on bite 11. You got that?
Your next-door neighbor, New Jersey, just disclosed that 6,600 non-citizens were mistakenly registered to vote there from 2023 to 2024. 400 of them actually voted in elections since then. It is a small number compared to the 7 million voters in New Jersey, and there's no evidence that that swayed any election. But this is one of the most significant disclosures of non-citizen registration. Now, Democrats have repeatedly said that non-citizen voting doesn't happen. It happened. Is this a problem?
I think that I continue to have confidence in state and local authorities in making sure that there's going to be a free and fair election in November. And if modest or minor challenges emerge, such as the one that was disclosed voluntarily by the authorities in New Jersey, that it is immediately corrected. And that's what I expect will continue to happen. Unfortunately, what we've seen from Donald Trump is that in this particular case, Republicans have adopted voter suppression as an electoral strategy because they have failed to actually deliver on making life more affordable for the American people.
Election integrity is something the Democrats, I mean, the only people that are against voter ID and proof of citizenship are Democrats in Washington. The rest of the country, including Democrats, support it 80-20. I want to just shift gears a little bit because I found this so bizarre. Anthony Fauci's diary, right? Newly released COVID diaries came by way of Rand Paul, of course. The diary entries revealed that COVID-19 deaths were mounting, and he was worried about his fixation on how famous he was. Let me give you an example. May 21, 2021. The latest pandemic figures, 100,000 global deaths, 27 dead in the United States. And documenting the day's White House coronavirus task force meetings, Fauci wrote that his, quote, national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. Not hyperbole. The most famous and talked about person in the country. I guess this is 2020, actually. He added that Trump seemed to be enamored of me, even though I am taking the spotlight away from him. A very unique and interesting relationship. He was so worried about being famous, he wasn't paying attention to all of this. He also complained that the White House was denying him some requests to appear on national television. Across multiple entries, Fauci criticized the White House communications officials for restricting his television appearances. He wanted to be famous. He wanted to stand on all those bodies that originated from his connection to Wuhan, China. He wanted to stand on those bodies to be famous. It's in the diaries, folks. It's more reprehensible than even you knew. I'll take a break and be back with sports. All right, let's jump into sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule of games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, the Chicago White Sox, and Seattle. National League winners included Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and San Diego. Jeff Kent, Andrew Jones, and Carlos Beltran were inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame yesterday in Cooperstown, New York. Jackson Koivu won the 3M Open yesterday for his first PGA Tour win. His 25-under score beat world number one Scotty Scheffler by 3 shots. The rookie wins $1.5 million and a trip to next year's Masters and PGA Championship. Tadej Pogacar wrapped up his 5th Tour de France title yesterday. He beat Remco Evenepoel, who won the 21st stage yesterday, by almost 6.5 minutes. And rookie Corey Heim won the NASCAR Brickyard 400 yesterday for his first Cup Series win. He beat Christopher Bell by less than 0.3 of a second to get the victory. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Brock, thank you for that. Well, it seems like big storms have been rolling across the Midwest today. We'll see if Air Force One is able to navigate that. I think they're going to be here after the president's visit to Milford. We'll see how that plays out. I will be going over for the event today. As soon as this program's over, I'm going to pack my bags and go listen to the president, see what he has to say. I'll have more for you in complete coverage. All right. The hot summer sun is here. Storms are here. Summer in full swing. Patriots Relief has the perfect CBD healing solution to help you make the most of the season. Summer fun means getting outside, staying active. After a long, boring winter, plenty of warm weather activities still ahead. We need to make sure our bodies are prepared for everything summer demands. Patriots Relief CBD can help alleviate those aches and pains so you can enjoy your favorite summer activities without letting pain get in the way. Don't let it slow you down. Use Patriots Relief CBD. Give Tim and his family a call, 877-230-1776. Or visit patriotsrelief.com. Use the promo code Gruber for 40% off and free shipping today. patriotsrelief.com. 40% off, free shipping today. You can't beat that, not even with a stick. All right, we're going to continue our conversation about voter fraud and everything else coming up after the break. And President Trump's visit to Michigan today. What's on his mind? We'll give you a little bit of a preview straight ahead on Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, welcome to it. Excuse me as we kick off another brand new hour here on the program. Glad to have you on board, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Three big things this hour. Number one, the new Defense Secretary for the UK says Trump has shaken Europe out of its complacency. I think that's a good thing. Number two, oil prices have collapsed again. West Texas Intermediate at $83, Brent crude at $89 after crossing over 100. So oil prices down more than 10% now since the United States stopped attacking Iran. And number three, President Trump on his way to Michigan today. I'll be there with him today in Milford at the Proving Grounds. At the Proving Grounds at General Motors. And we would guess that the president's going to be talking about the economy. And obviously, auto manufacturing, which, by the way, here's a disturbing number for you. The big three now account for only 36% of the vehicles sold in America. 36%. Gets smaller every year. Now, the bright side of that is that Toyota and Mercedes and others now build their cars here. But the fact of the matter is, American companies... Well, Stellantis isn't even American anymore, is it? Jeep and Chrysler. The president expected to, this is just a little hit from the Hill. The president expected to focus on the economy, rebuilding the auto industry, tariffs on Canada. The administration is going to point out they've secured more than $20 billion in business investments in Michigan, creating more than 1,600 jobs. Plus tariffs on imported vehicles and tax incentives for American-made cars as benefits for the state's auto sector. Critics, however, argue the tariffs have increased costs for consumers. I don't see it, but so it is. The price of gasoline will continue to be an issue, but to be honest with you, gasoline coming back down again, because oil has come way back down again. It's going to be below $80 before the end of the day, I believe, right? He'll also have the endorsed candidates with him. Trump has endorsed John James, who missed an appointment on this program last week. He has endorsed John James and that's for the governor's race, and Mike Rogers, former congressman, chair of the House Intel Committee for United States Senate. They'll both be in attendance there. So we'll look forward to talking to them and seeing what's going on with the president. I'll be down there. I got to leave here not too long after the program's over. Make security, all those things. Just part of the program, what you have to do. All right? So you got that going on. Meanwhile, if you missed it over the weekend, the president made some pretty big announcements at the correspondence meeting, right? The correspondence meeting. A big announcement, in fact. Bite number 6, Anthony. In case you missed it, listen to this.
We are all doing good together. That's why tonight, to show just how much I care about the press, and I want to save your ratings, I'm pleased to announce my intention to, and this is somewhat of a scoop, my intention to run for a 4th term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official, in fact, I think I have, I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times, did very well the second time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it. You know, it's interesting, when you come back and you do a good job like we did, you don't care about it so much, but we do have to tighten up these elections because they really are in seriously bad shape. But
the Trump 2028 hat. Watch your friends' heads explode as you wear the Trump 2028 hat to the party this Friday. Yeah. Anthony, you want one of those to hang out with your buddies?
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
They'll love that.
Yes.
Big fans.
Yes, yes.
Anthony hangs out with hippies. It's not important, though. Let's see. What else is Trump? Oh, here's something else he said that's actually pretty funny. So this is the correspondence. Because the last correspondence center, remember the idiot got through, fired a couple of shots in the hall, and the meeting, the whole party was canceled. So they held it again last night. So Trump says, here's bad news for the national media. When he leaves, they're dead. Listen.
People have no idea how lucky you are. When I'm gone, you're all going to be broke. Your business model is going to be finished. No, it's true. When I'm not around, you're going to be broke. There's not going to be anybody to report on. Nobody gives a damn about anybody else. The New York Times the other day had 5 stories about me. You know, before I got into politics, in my whole life, I had 7 front-page stories. This is years of success. I think 6 were good, 1 was bad. I had 5 stories, 7, 5 good. Yeah, I had a total of 7 stories on the front page of the New York Times. That's not bad. Now I average about 3 or 4 a day. All different topics, all bad.
All bad. You know, you have to ask yourself, is he wrong about that? What are they going to write about at the New York Times if they don't have Donald Trump to write about? What are they going to talk about at MS Now and, you know, Morning Joe? What are they going to talk about? If Trump's not there, I don't actually think he's wrong about that. It's crazy, but true if you think about it. That's all. They spend their whole life talking about him, ranting about him, complaining about him, right? Constantly. You won't have Donald Trump around anymore to boost your ratings and to say things that make your head explode and your hair catch fire. It's kind of fun. We'll see what he has to say when he gets to Michigan today. Look, the other thing that he's going to talk about in Michigan for sure is voter fraud. Everything we saw at TCF Center, everything we saw in Muskegon, that's top of mind for him. And the Save America Act. And he's going to have to address why John Thune is taking a vacation for the entire month of August. It seems to me that the president, I mean, I'm going to have to read the Constitution on this part, but I've had people sending me notes. That J.D. Vance, as the president of the Senate, could come in and say, you know what, Thune, you're out of leadership, that is. You can't, obviously, he's still a senator from South Dakota, but. And come in and start moving the needle. Well, I think that would be important. If somebody could move the needle, it'd be greatly appreciated, that's for sure. This part of the program brought to you by PureClean's Veterans Initiative, PureVet, because life after service deserves opportunity, ownership, and purpose. This is the restoration industry. You know, you have a flood, a fire, whatever it might be. You come in, you clean up your own neighborhood. You make things better. You make a homeowner whole again or a business owner whole again. As a veteran, you get to the front of the line with these guys. They put you first. I think it's great. It's called the PureVet program, purovet.com or 855-PureVet. It's a program that puts veterans to the front of the line to have your own business in a multi-billion-dollar industry. We love them for it. purovet.com. I'll take a break and be right back. Down 12%. All right, welcome back to it as we continue here on a big Monday. I got a lot of work to do today, as you know, because I have to go hear what the president has to say at the Milford Proving Grounds. Of course, we'll see how that plays out. Ivy's back with me now. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
So you'll pack my lunch and away I'll go or something like that.
I will. Cook you breakfast, send you off.
Yeah, something like
To
that.
the Trump event. What do you expect him to say today?
I think it's going to be all about the economy. He'll talk about Iran, but I think he's going to spend a fair amount of time on voter integrity. I do. I think he's going to spend time on voter integrity and election integrity. I think he has to because of what happened in Muskegon that he talked about back in, what was that, last week before when he talked about election integrity, right?
That's
I guess that was a week
2 weeks
before.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, yeah.
10 days ago, yeah. So, look, but this is where he's going. He's been to Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. He's focusing on all the key swing states because they're just as important in the midterms in a different way.
That's right.
But he's here to endorse Mike Rogers. He's here to endorse John James. We do have Perry Johnson coming up a little bit later this hour. 2 people left in the race for governor in Michigan. Perry Johnson thinks he can still pull this out. Maybe he can. We'll listen to what he has to say.
I'm sure, as does John James.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they both have to say. We don't endorse candidates here, but they both have interesting ideas for the state of Michigan.
We don't endorse during primaries.
That's true.
We
And
might have something
certainly-
to say before the general election. I'll just say that.
That's true. Wow, that's true.
Yeah.
I do have 2 incredible stories that I'd like to share with you, Steve. One is out of Montana.
I love Montana.
Oh, yes. We'll be visiting there in a couple weeks. Actually, you know what? Side note here. I wanted to show you this video of a guy. He's fishing, and then he's going to pull that up. He's fishing in Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
And as you can see in the video, behind him is a bison, and the bison is beginning to move up onto him, and he doesn't know it. So people on the road and passerbys are just honking at him, yelling at him, "Hey, there's a bison behind you." And the guy, he turns and sees him, and then he just very slowly begins to walk away. And down the street.
What else are you going to do, right?
Right. But I just thought it was hilarious. These giant animals, you just don't hear them at all.
No.
You wouldn't want to repeat the guy that got thrown in the air. Boy.
Yeah, the guy just reached into the old, and I don't think the old guy did anything wrong. We take issue with people who screw with the animals in these parks, bears, bison, whatever.
Right. Be aware of your surroundings.
Right.
I can imagine the next few weeks if we're standing in a river in Montana. Let's just be aware, Steve.
Yeah.
If there's a bear, you just let me know and
Bears,
keep me calm.
Bears don't bother me. Bears bother Ivy a lot.
Unless it's a grizzly, which is normally there. But I have another story out of Montana. A 32-year-old emergency room nurse is alive today after accidentally impaling himself with a trekking pole while climbing Granite Peak.
Like one of those aluminum walking stick things.
Yeah, you walk and he impaled
I've
himself
got one of
with it.
those.
Yes,
Wait
note
a
to
second.
self, Steve. Let's not impale yourself whilst walking when we're in Montana, please. You haven't been to the emergency room in a while?
What do you fall? He had to have fallen on it.
He had to have fallen on it. So let me continue the story. David, I have no idea how to pronounce his wife's name.
Doesn't matter.
Fadali, slipped on loose rocks nearly 12,000 feet up in the mountain and landed directly on one of his hiking poles, which pierced completely through his torso. Holy moly.
Oh, my God.
Instead of panicking, his emergency room training kicked in. After quickly assessing that the injury didn't appear to hit any vital organs, he made a remarkable decision. He left the pole where it was and he hiked out. With one friend contacting search and rescue by satellite, the search and rescue met them at the end of the, trailhead.
It's the right thing.
And
he left it in.
He's expected to make a full recovery. And looking back, he said that he knew how close to death he could have possibly been if he had hit some sort of organ.
Yeah.
And also, anytime you impale yourself, you never want to remove it. You want surgeons to do that if there's a need
Right.
to
You
do
gotta
that.
have a team right there.
And he says, his words, a couple inches in one direction or the other, he would have probably been a goner. But what a crazy story.
But wait, you said he was at 12,000 feet. He was up. He was way up.
He was way up. And he had to hike down. And as you know, generally when you're in those areas, you do not have any sort of cellular service. So we hike with a Garmin, and that allows you to be able to, through satellite contact search and rescue.
Wait a sec. So he's walking down the mountain with a 4-foot or whatever
Pole
it is
through his torso,
sticking out of his body.
Yes.
Avoiding the trees, the rocks, falling again.
Yes.
And you've got to be, I'm going to say, maybe a little lightheaded.
I would bet.
You know, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, maybe
I just impaled myself. The pole is through my body.
Maybe I don't
now
feel
I need
very
to hike
good.
down, 45 minutes.
I'm more than 45 minutes. If you're is that all you had to go to get to search and rescue?
Well, I don't actually know, but
right.
I'm just throwing something out there.
Probably a few hours.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more for you, Steve.
All right.
Another crazy
Jeez.
story of survival. A California man who vanished during a solo sailing trip has been rescued after spending more than a month stranded in the Pacific Ocean.
Really?
39-year-old Kai Sato left Catalina Island in early June, hoping to sail to Hawaii, but just 2 weeks into his journey, his sailboat mast snapped. He ran out of fuel, his phone died, and he found himself hundreds of miles from help. Sato says he spent days crying as the current carried him further out to sea, feeling completely helpless. Then he decided he wasn't going to give up. Using PVC pipe and kayak pedals, he managed to jerry-rig repairs to his damaged boat. He survived on leftover oatmeal fish, squid, while collecting condensation for drinking water so that he can do whatever he could to stay alive. After nearly a month, he finally drifted back into a major shipping lane between California and Hawaii, where a passing cargo ship spotted
him, yeah.
his boat. Can you imagine?
This is why I don't sail.
He spent a month just floating
bobbing around, no cell service. Yeah.
What a survival
That's
story.
crazy. Brother Shane likes to sail. Shane, this is why we like motorized vehicles.
Listen, even in a motorized
his motor
vehicle,
failed
if
too.
If it failed, what are you gonna do?
Bob around in the ocean for a month. What a story.
Reminds me of that movie, Wilson.
I can't decide Wilson. Which one's worse, getting impaled or floating around the ocean for a month?
Castaway, Tom Hanks.
Castaway, Tom Hanks.
Floating around in the ocean, Steve.
I agree with you.
I think I'd rather be impaled and be able to know I could walk it.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right, I'm going to propose for you a constitutional question. That's getting more discussion because John Thune is stuck in neutral, and the Senate Republicans have no sense of urgency. Constitutionally, the vice president is the president of the Senate. And he can preside over the Senate proceedings whenever he or she chooses. Recognize senators to speak, rule on points of order, maintain order and decorum in the chamber, cast a deciding vote when the Senate is tied, like Kamala Harris did. Now, the question then becomes, because over time, over 2 centuries, the Senate has kind of created its own rules, right? Has its own rules. And some say the vice president simply cannot decide which bills receive votes, can't ignore the filibuster or remove committee chairs. But some don't believe that's true. Some constitutional scholars argue that because the vice president is the constitutional presiding officer, he or she could become a lot more active in the modern practice. Rule on procedural questions, make recognition decisions, issue rulings from the chair, and yes, potentially say the filibuster is not constitutional and meaningless. Can J.D. Vance step up and take control where John Thune is honestly doing nothing? And with Mitch McConnell not in attendance, does it make it easier? These are constitutional questions that we're going to explore here in the next few days on the program. We'll get some constitutional experts in here. Some will agree, some will not. Some scholars argue that the office has become weaker through custom than the Constitution originally envisioned. Others argue that Article 1, Section 5 allows each chamber to determine its own rules, meaning the Senate's within its rights to limit how much authority the presiding officer exercises. No vice president has successfully attempted to seize operational control in modern history. But it's an interesting question. And doing nothing at this point, that's what the Senate has already done, nothing. Maybe it's time to shake things up. Maybe it's time to shake things up. I'll take a break and be back. All right, the influence of the Chinese Communist Party in America is kind of hard to measure because of the money that's spent by people like Neville Singham and others to influence the conversation, whether it's through vehicles like TikTok or other social media platforms or by buying time on networks. They influence the conversation in a variety of places you might not even realize. Steve Lance is a senior investigative journalist, host of the Capitol Report, and spokesman for the film Unbroken, the untold story of Shen Yun. Steve, nice to have you on the program.
It's great to be with you, Steve.
Nice to see you. All right, so let's talk about, first of all, let's just talk about Chinese influence in America in 2026. Whether it's 700,000 students that I think maybe shouldn't be here. In fact, I disagree with the Trump administration on this about having just an open policy for all these people here that, are stealing our intellectual property. Look, they have a deal with the CCP to come here as a student. Whatever you learn, you have to share with us. I mean, that's one easy example of influence inside our country. Then, of course, you've got birth tourism, where more than 1 million Chinese babies have been born here, taken back to China to be raised, who can return here when they're 18 to vote. And when they're 35 years of age, they can actually legally run for president. It's crazy what we're doing with China, isn't it?
It is, Steve. I don't think not even our founders couldn't imagine what is happening in terms of the infiltration, but just look back a few decades. The rules, there's laws on the books that prohibit people from immigrating into our country that have ties or allegiances or affiliations with the Communist Party. It's on documents when they get off the airplane and meet with immigration officials. And here we have new laws that have evolved where, as you put it, 500,000 mainland Chinese students coming into our universities and having the ability to wine and dine and influence our American scholars, whether they're in East Asian studies or other sensitive areas at MIT, where a lot of our technology and cutting edge technology of the future is developed. So it's of extreme concern for the future of our country. And, you speak about these asymmetric means and how it's immeasurable. I think that's a very important point that you raised, Steve, because the CCP is sort of the master of using proxies and plausible deniability. And so their ability to leverage our own institutions, and when I say institutions, our media, our government agencies in some cases, using covert influence operations is unprecedented, and we do explore that in the film.
Well, that's important. Let's talk about the film. The film is Unbroken, the untold story of Shen Yun. What is Shen Yun? Tell us the story.
Sure, Steve. So Shen Yun is a classical Chinese dance company based right here in the United States of America, in New York. It was founded by Chinese dissidents who practice a meditation discipline called Falun Dafa or Falun Gong, which became very popular in China in a short period of time in the early 90s. And because of its popularity, the CCP condemned it and launched a nationwide persecution campaign. And along with rounding them up and putting them in forced labor, subjecting them to torture, and in many cases murdering them for their organs, mind you, they also put out a lot of propaganda to defame this practice. And so Shen Yun was founded with sort of two unique missions. One was to restore traditional culture. You've probably seen the tagline on their billboards and in their television commercials, China before communism. And the other was to, a short part of the programming is to raise awareness about this ongoing genocide against Falun Gong practitioners inside of China. And so, as you might imagine, that tagline, China before communism, has drawn the ire of the Chinese Communist Party because not only, China has 5,000 years of divinely inspired culture, as the Chinese folks put it. And so it offers a glimpse of what China was like before communism, but I think more importantly, Shen Yun offers a glimpse of what China could be like without communism in the future. And so the CCP has gone to great lengths to try to silence, defame this group. They've, bomb threats at the theaters right here in Washington, D.C. They had to evacuate for 3 hours back in the wintertime in the freezing temperatures because of, frivolous bomb threats. They slash their bus tires. They try to subvert the theaters by reaching out to the theater directors, defaming Shen Yun, among a plethora of other methods that they've used. And so in our film, we sort of explore two tracks. One is like, who are these people? Because I didn't mention part of the CCP's influence operation, we think, is a series of hit pieces that were done by the New York Times. They've written 12 hit pieces attacking Shen Yun.
Right.
And And so, yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned something here, and I want to circle it because of today's environment in the United States. By the Democratic Socialists, this Red-Green Alliance, they want to destroy, tearing down statues of Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln and anybody else they can grab their ropes onto and spray paint and so forth. This is exactly what Chairman Mao did during the Communist Revolution, right? This is what he did in the 1940s and 50s. He destroyed China's history from the Chinese, a long and glorious history. That was part of the plan. Erase the history, then they're not tethered to anything. Then there's no foundation, and we can rebuild it however we want, which has turned out into modern-day China, correct?
You nailed it right on the head, Steve. China, as we were saying, has 5,000 years of divinely inspired culture, whether it be, Buddhism, Taoism, or Confucianism. The belief in the creator, the belief in the divine, and what comes along with those sort of beliefs and principles is a certain level of morality, striving to be good. And as you mentioned, when Chairman Mao took over in 1949, and many folks have probably heard of the Great Cultural Revolution,
Yeah.
It wasn't that great for the Chinese people. He toppled temples, they mocked religion, they turned families on one another. And so, the Chinese people over the past, 7 decades have been through a tumultuous time when it comes to freedom of belief and faith.
Maybe 100 million people died at the hands of Chairman Mao. And yet you got people out there like Hassan Piker saying this is a great man. He transformed China. He sure did, with mass graves and the murder of millions, whether it was the Great Leap Forward in the late 1950s that cost millions of people their lives through starvation and execution to, choose your poison. Anyhow, how do people find this film, Steve? I want people to see this.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, so it's called Unbroken, the Untold Story of Shen Yun. You can find it on all major platforms, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and then if you'd like to watch it for free, you can at ntdfilms.com.
ntdfilms.com. I sit here and I wonder what Confucius would say about communism. I think Confucius say communism sucks. Let's just be honest about what it is and what it's done to people. And it never works. It's always a failure, and it comes at the expense of ordinary people. Ordinary Chinese, ordinary Cubans, ordinary Russians, and if we're not careful, ordinary Americans. Steve Lance, always good to see you.
Thank you, Steve.
Really appreciate it. There you have it. Go see the film Unbroken, the Untold Story of Shen Yun, ntdfilms.com. Educate yourself. Learn something. It's more important today in 2026 than it's ever been. All right? Up after the break, candidate for governor in Michigan, Perry Johnson, will be with me. We'll see where he is in this race with just about 1 week to go until the primary. Back after this. All right, let's jump right back into it. As you know, President Trump coming to Milford to the General Motors Proving Grounds a little bit later today, expected to speak sometime around 3 o'clock. I'll be on hand to see what he has to say. I'll share it all with you, of course. My next guest is running for governor in Michigan, one of the last two men standing, Perry Johnson, businessman, author, political candidate. Perry, good morning. Nice to see you again.
Well, good morning. It's great to be on.
Great to have you here. All right, so the president coming to town, he's going to talk about the auto industry and other issues like the economy. I'm sure he'll talk about Iran. And, of course, voter integrity and voter fraud, which he pretty well revealed here during his primetime speech. What are your thoughts about what the president's going to say today?
Well, I cannot read into the president's mind. What I do know,
Who can?
I certainly agree that we have to focus on voter integrity. That's probably the single most important thing in our republic. I mean, you think about the very foundation of this country, voter integrity is key. It's what has made it work. So that is something that has to always be a major focus in every possible way. I would never forget about that. But here, affordability is probably the major issue because we've had a government that has been throwing away people's money, and I think they're tired of it. I know that we have issues here, but we have an issue now because what happens in the government here is that you have these special interest groups that donate money to campaigns, and then as a result, of course, they look at it as an investment and they expect something in return. You take a look at all the stuff that goes on. We have these data centers that are built, and I think Roop asked on the debate, very simply, if they donated money to you, would you give it back? And we have $107,000 that was donated to John James by people building the data centers, $39,000 donated to him by the people powering the data centers. And of course, he didn't answer. I brought it up. He's in a catch-22. He has these people donate to him. And of course, what can he do? He has to do their bidding.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's the problem.
What is your position? What is your position, Perry, on data centers in general? Good idea, bad idea? Here's where I'm confused. We've got all of these industrial places in Michigan and all over this country, frankly, that have already been developed, that the factory has closed, where you could put solar panels. You don't need to plow fields and forests, where you could put data centers that are already in places like Detroit or Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo that could use the jobs, that could use the infrastructure, that could use the industry. Why do they want to plow farm fields for data centers?
Well, they want to be near water. We went to visit one of the data centers. In fact, I have it on my website, and you hear that cacophony from the noise. And it goes 24/7, so that when a data center went near somebody's home, it automatically decreased the value of the home. And then we know that the sound waves from the data centers are damaging babies. We know that there are carcinogenic impacts, but there are no OSHA requirements for these data centers. And then you have to factor in that we have a situation where our electric bills have skyrocketed. And a lot of it is supply and demand. These data centers have used so much energy. But the real question becomes, with what's going on right now, are they even going to be needed in 3 or 4 years? Because with AI, we are making such progress, and we have all sorts of other avenues for generating the power. And I look at my phone right now. My phone has more power than the computer that sent Apollo to the moon, because we ended up being able to put more and more in such a concentrated area. So we have, my position was quite simple. We had a moratorium on data centers. We have 70 already, until we can investigate to find out what the ramifications are and to make sure that we are not building something that is going to create severe problems and health problems, and that we don't want to be in a position where we have data centers that are just eyesores because they're not going to be needed down the road.
Let me ask you something else.
It's always been, let's do an audit first to find out what it is that's needed, It's why it doesn't make any sense for us to allocate $1.8 billion to create jobs without knowing whether or not it's going to be effective. We ended up.
We have a terrible track record there. Michigan has a terrible track record putting out billions of dollars in return for jobs that never materialize. They don't exist.
I mean, we always spent $1.8 billion and we created 602 jobs. That's $3 million a job. Now, how stupid can you be?
You're right. So let me ask you something else, because this comes to mind. I only have about a minute here, Perry, but I want to ask you about this. Consumers in DTE, like every other state, you have these power monopolies. And they're all for the data centers because they can raise their rates, again, on me and you and everybody, right? What do you do to reel in these monopolies?
Not only that, the government controls their increase. So you're in a position there, they donate these astronomical sums to these candidates, and then you're beholden to them. That's the problem. So when you have a situation where the person that is determining your raise is going to be in a position where they're beholden to you, then they're going to be a little bit more lenient when it comes to giving you the appropriate raise. And let's face it, we've been getting significant increases. And when people look at their power bills, they can really thank the government because the government determines the increase. And if they have, think of it this way, if they really needed all that money, then why would they be donating so much money to the candidates? Why would they be giving $39,000 to John James? In fact, we have candidates, they got $700,000 from the power companies. So when you look at that kind of an arrangement, it really is kind of incestuous because of the fact that they are giving money so that they can make sure that they get appropriate raises. They're bribing them for raises.
Got to leave it there. Greatly appreciate talking to you. I'll talk to you again. The primary now just 8 days away. PerryJohnson.com. PerryJohnson.com if you want to find out more. Perry, always good to talk to you, my friend.
Likewise.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What do you think of that? Send me an email at stevegruber.com. Final thoughts after this. All right, so what would Confucius say? I asked that a moment ago with a previous guest here on the program, Steve Lance. Well, Confucius would likely critique communism while seeing value in a goal of social harmony, but it doesn't really work. Family versus state. Confucius taught that loyalty to family is the absolute root of moral society. But strict communism demands that loyalty be to the state and the collective. No family. The state is the family. Hierarchy versus equality. Confucianism relies on a natural, respectful social order, such as respect for elders and rulers, contrasting with the classless, forced equality goals of radical communism. Virtue v. force. Confucius believed a society is kept stable by the moral example of virtuous leaders, rather than the violent class struggle or total state control or dictators like Dictator Xi or Dictator Mao. Shared values. Both systems care deeply about peace, order, and working together for the common good instead of living a purely selfish lives. But Confucius say communism sucks. Yeah, so you have these Confucius institutes, but he wouldn't agree with communism at all. Yeah, at all. Anyhow, there's that. Meanwhile, the what do you think of Perry Johnson? Moratorium on data centers till we decide their benefit versus the downside. I actually like that position. The benefit cost analysis of data centers. That'd be a pretty good idea. Pretty good idea. At any rate, how about a T-shirt? Confucius say communism sucks. I like that T-shirt. What do you think? I should put them together right here. Greatly appreciate you being here. I'm on my way to see the president. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is Daybreak. And remember, only you. It takes you to save America.
Watch out, folks. There's a